developing breeds of excellence.
Hello, welcome to another edition of the Soaring Eagles Talk Show. Today we will be treating on a very crucial and important topic as it relates to parenthood and child upbringing. And our topic today will be the neglect and the effect of poor parenting in our contemporary world. We all can attest to the fact that the way the upbringing of children now cannot be cannot be likened to how it was in the past years, in 10 years' time, 20 years' time, in the 90s and the 80s. There is a shift in the mode of parenting, and this is likened to the age that we find ourselves. So this is what we'll be treating today, and I want you to sit close, stay to your device, and listen keenly to this information we'll be giving out today because we have a very good resource person in our midst who will be helping us dissect this matter. And he's also not just a resource person, he's a father that has groomed his children, at least. Some of them are even married. He's a grandfather, I can say. He's a pastor, and just you will hear from him very soon. But all I want you to know is stay glued to your device because we are bringing something of quality this afternoon. So as we go on, I am sure you will surely learn one or two things as relates to parenting, and child upbringing. But not wasting much time, let us meet our guests, sir. Sir, please, can we meet you?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
I am Pastor Shegun Oyin.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
I want to know your background, what you do, so that our listeners can be also.
Okay, by the grace of God, I'm a pastor in the Deeper Life Bible Church, Guam Group of Districts. I happen to be the group pastor here.
Okay. So, sir, I think before now, I'm sure you have gone through the topic and listened to the introduction I made.
Yes.
Can what I said, is it really true? That is there really a shift in the mode of parenting from the 90s to the 80s, when from the 80s to 90s to this age we are, the 2000? Is there really a shift in the mode of parenting?
Yes, there is a shift, unfortunately, but is that the will of God? The answer is no. And the shift is not for good, but from what we can see in the society today, it shows that we have really moved from the good part to a path that has not been beneficiary to the society, to the family, to the church, and even to God Almighty.
Okay, so we can liken it as you said now. If I'm to if I'm to summarize what you just said now, you said it's not the will of God. The
Yes.
shift is not a positive shift.
It's not.
Then what can you help us understand the topic, the neglect? Because it is when something has been neglected that it can result effect, can have some ripple effects. So what is the cause of this neglect? Help us understand the neglect.
Actually, every child that is born into this world is unique. And if children normally react to their environment. And since a child behavior is a product of heredity and environment, so the family unit is the first and primary uh, foundation of the child learning process. And whatever happens in that environment or that in that family circle has either positive or negative impact in the life of the child. And so, in some families today, we have discovered that what happened in the family has been the cause of what we are seeing in the society. And when you see, if you see an armed robber, it comes from a family. And when you see someone that have done well, either in the society or in the church of God, or maybe someone that has a breakthrough in life, either in business or otherwise, also come from a family. So it also depends. So what you see in the society today is a product of what we see in the family.
Okay. So now can you help us understand the term poor parenting?
Well, poor parenting can be, I think, we can call it parental failure. Because when a parent did not bring up the child in the fear of God, with a moral value, you cannot expect a good society. So what you see on the street today can be traced to the family. Now, when we were growing up, there's something they will always tell us. Whatever you want to do, wherever you want to go, they will always tell you, remember the son of whom you are. And so because of that, whatever we do, wherever we go, we have that at the back of our minds. And we are very careful about the family name. We are very careful about where we are coming out from. And so because of that, it helps us. So, but when you see a family where those values don't matter, all that matters to them is what they can get, material gain of whatever, so they can trade the value of family for anything, for personal gain.
Okay, as you said, there are family values that must be practiced to see that this good parenting continues.
Yes.
But we have, especially in our age today, we have seen where even fathers disown their children. Children disown their parents just because of maybe what they requested for at that point, they didn't get it. Or the child went out of their own, the parent will to do something that is not acceptable in the family. So how do we bring a balance between poor parenting and inculcating of true values into children's upbringing?
Well, you see, for the fact that some people bring up their children with poor value and they succeeded in doing that, shows you that, and if other people brought up the children and they become what they themselves, the family, the parents are not happy with, it also points to the fact that the parents are straight. You understand now? Because when a child is born, every child is born innocent. The heart is pure, the heart is free. The heart is like a slate, and whatever you write on that slate stay. So if at the time a child is growing up, if there's a delay in inculcating moral value and good bringing to that child, there is a window. And once you cross that window, whatever you want to do is already late. Because there's a saying that it is easier to train a child than to repair a man. When the fish is fresh, you can bend it this way, it will go. Try it this way, it will go. But when it's dry, when you try to bend it, what happens? You break it. And so, what I have to say here is that if you don't start early, if you don't start at the right time, you may not get the desired result.
It's very, very important. Okay, if you don't start on time, you might get to a point where you can't bring that person back.
That's it, exactly.
A point of no return.
The point of no return.
Okay, so then we see bringing the attitude of youth today. The attitude of youth. We can see some common signs and behavior that indicates a child is not properly, like the parent neglected that upbringing to some extent. What are those common signs that we can pinpoint in a person and we can say, this person, the error is coming from his family upbringing, his family values?
Well, when you, let me give you an example. When I was growing up, my father is such a man that will not overlook anything, no matter how small it is. When we are eating, he will look at us and tell you, your sitting position is not right. When you are eating, you don't talk. You will monitor the way you eat. If you are too fast, you will complain. If you are too slow, you will complain. Until you do what is right, you will monitor everything. In fact, there is something that my dad taught me many years ago when I was very young. When we were eating, one day we were eating, he said, no, that the position I place the food, that is the eba, and where the plate, the soup is wrong. That when you cut from here, you go this way, you return to get. What you do is that the soup will always be there, so that when you cut from there, you go here directly. And you know what? Even now, when I want to eat, I still make sure I follow that rule because it became part of me. The principle became part of me. So when a child is growing up, where you will notice that the parents has missed it is when someone will begin to bring up a kind of attitude, a kind of behavior that is unbecoming of a good child, you will know that the problem is from the family because they are not not well taught at the right time. So, if you want your child to be what you want, what you ought to be, number one, you must start on time, and you must not overlook anything. You know, you go to some home and you see a child, for example, even in the presence of the visitor, run here, run there, run there, run there, and the parent will overlook it, and they will feel that, well, he's still a child. But that is where you're supposed to start. You caution that child. You said, when we have a visitor, you excuse us. And you don't do that when the visitor is here. By the time you caution that child 1, 2, 3 times, next it will get used to it. It can be playing around daddy, jumping around daddy, but the moment a visitor comes, they see it, they have got the message, see that visitor is gone. That is when it comes back and normal family relationship.
Okay, so, from this example you just gave now, there is a major conflict between parents and their children, teenagers, and that is the place of discipline. Now, how do we differentiate between discipline and the place of correction and the place of that love? Because as you said now, if that child is going about and you caution that child, that is a discipline you're inculcating in that person. But how do we differentiate it from the place of seeing it as hatred? Because most youths now, once you correct them on a thing, they term it that you don't like them. That's why you treat them anyhow. So how do we draw that line? How do we make it clear so that they will be able to understand that this is a place of discipline?
Okay. When you want to correct a child, for example, you must not necessarily shout at the child. You can call your child, "Hey, welcome, sit down. Look, this is not good for you," and you explain the reason. Because when you correct and you don't give reason why the child should not do what you say should not do, you will see this as deprivation. If you deprive them of what they're supposed to enjoy. But what you do is that you call that child and you have a kind of heart-to-heart discussion. Tell the child, you cannot do this, and this is the reason why you should not do it. So by the time the child get the message. But if things happen and your reaction is that of bullying and shouting and how you pass a wrong message to that child. Sometimes, in fact, when you go out and you come back early, they wish you never come back. You understand? So when you want to, one thing you must make the child to know that whatever you are doing is out of love. So in correcting a child, you must draw a line. There's a place of rebuke. There's a place of drawing the child to yourself and make that child to know that what you are trying to pass across is out of love.
The love must be practical.
Love must, yes.
Wow. I think that is the part that some of our parents are missing. They want to pass the correction, but they pass it out of anger or out of temper, and that can discourage a child from
Yes.
even bringing his personal problems to you. So I think that is one thing. Then another thing I have in mind is while we were growing up, they told us that a child is the community child. It's not only the parents' child. But we are seeing a reversal in today's world. A very good example: if a teacher should beat a child, then and the child reports the matter home, the parent will even correct the child more on what the teacher has done. But today, if a teacher should beat a child in the school and he brings it back, the parent will carry the child and go back to the school to find the teacher to quarrel the person. So what can we say? What can we say is the responsible for this kind of change in the parental setup today? Because it's a societal something. If your neighbor cannot correct your child, then means your child is left for, and that's not the best. So what do you think is that society that the factors that contribute to this downfall of the society, people helping to nurture the child rather than the parent believing on their child and even defending their child when they are wrong in the public.
Well, first of all, you got example of where a teacher will discipline a child and parents will go to school to fight. Well, in our time when we were growing up, when a teacher discipline you, you dare not go home to report because your parents, your father or your mother, they can even give you more than what the teacher did. But then today, you must have to ask this question. The teacher himself, who is he? Is he better than the child that is disciplined? And today, you look at some teacher in the school, for example, they don't even know how to discipline a child. In a situation where you flog a child until blood is coming out of that child, no parent will take that. You understand now? No parent will take that. Some teachers too are naturally wicked. And like I said earlier, discipline must be out of love. And by the time, in our time, all that the teacher wants to achieve is to make sure that the money your parents are paying to the school is not a waste. And so the discipline is moderate. It's not the kind of discipline you see today that a child will be beaten to the point of the child fainting in the school, and they will have to rush that child to the hospital. No parent will tolerate that. But if a child is disciplined moderately and out of concern and out of love, I think it will also be wrong for a parent to get to school to fight or to quarrel because the child is disciplined. Like you rightly said, in those days, in a large family, the child belonged to everyone. And so when you see a child going out of his way to do what any member of the family, large family, they have the right to discipline that child. And that is it. And that is what makes the difference that time. Once you see someone discipline your child, you are happy. But in a case where today, once a child does something like, why must you? You see some parents, either father or mother, what's your business? How can you do that to my child? Please leave that child for me. Then that is why today, when you see a child doing something wrong, nobody wants to say anything. And that is one of the reasons why we have the problem we have in the society.
Also, we have also seen that pattern of parents getting late to train children. That is in a family setting where both the father and the mother are English workers, that is office workers. They go out as early as 6 a.m. when maybe the child has not even wake up from bed. The maid has to be the one to wake him up, bathe the child, prepare the child for school, take the child to school, wait till the child come back. And the parents are nowhere in the picture of the upbringing of the child. Can we liken that to the digital age we have today? And how beneficial is that system of upbringing?
Well, that is one of the reasons why we have uh, failure in parenting. Let me go back to, I remember when I had my first child. At the age of 4 months, the mother was still working. And we got a girl from the village. And this girl came. By the time she stayed for some few months, we discovered that this person cannot live with us because the rate was going. Yes, we didn't bring her up. She was already a grown up. Yes, so we changed her may be a very difficult task. So she has to go. And what did we do? My wife has to resign. She resigned her place of work and remained at home. Although the burden was on me, but I felt that whatever it would take, because the child that we brought to the world didn't ask us to bring her to the world. We brought the child to the world and we have a responsibility, giving that child the best that we can afford. Times of upbringing, doing everything possible to make sure that we have a child that we can be proud of and say, wherever she goes to, this is our child. And so the price we could pay, the sacrifice we could give that time was for her to resign. And she left working for years. She was at home. We have the first child, the second child, the third child. And that was how it was. When they returned from school, she had the time to go through their assignments, assist them in the assignment. In fact, it even so happened that some other neighbor members of the church that are working, they were even bringing their own children to stay in my house.
So they saw the impact.
Because they saw the impact. So we have to pay that price for the firstborn, the secondborn, the thirdborn before she goes back to work. And by the grace of God, I think that helps a lot, that we never have any of our children that we struggle and struggle and struggle before we are able to make them what we expect them to be. So it's very important today that if you know that you want to bring a child in the world, you must be ready to pay the price of bringing up the children in the fear of God, the children that society cannot corrupt. And you cannot do that when the father is away, the mother is away, and we only leave the child in the heart of nanny. And today we have stories. We have stories of learning when the parents are not around, they begin to teach the children some kind of thing that you must not hear. Corruption. And so that is one of the reasons why we have a bad society today.
So there must be a set part time for you to be with your child.
Exactly. No, people say, well, because things are hard, and well, there is no price that is too high to pay for children to come to work.
There's no price to pay. It's very, very essential. So we have to understand that to everything we do in this life, there is a price to pay.
Yeah.
So bringing it also to the social media, because this is a digital age, the 20th and 21st century. Some parents, especially young parents today, try to even copy what they see on social media, maybe films they've watched, friends' advice, and bring it into their home and use it to train their children. How healthy is that practice?
Well, in life, there is always negative and positive. Take for instance, like a car battery. If you remove the negative and you try to start it, will it work? You also need the negative. You remove the positive and you try to start it, it won't work. So in life, both positive, negative goes hand in hand. It's now left for you to make a choice. Now, for example, if you say, well, we are talking about digital age, Well, if you say, well, because of the corruption associated with the digital age, I just want to remain in analog. The world will leave you behind.
Sure.
I remember when we were in the village, uh, the primary school. Whenever we want to have end of term and there's a need for group photograph, they will go to a neighboring village and they will come with a photographer, talking about the 70s. And that photographer come with a camera with 3 legs, just like our camera here, and with one red cloth cover his head and tell us, watch, there's a bird that will come out, to gain our attention. And when he do that, he will snap us, and for 2 weeks, we will not see him. It will take him 2 weeks to go and develop that negative, point it, and bring it back. It takes 2 weeks, minimum of 2 weeks. And by the time he comes, behold, all that camera can give you is black and white. But today, because we are in digital age, you can go for a wedding, and before you get into the church, somebody snap you, and before the end of that service, he has brought the picture to you. Not 2 weeks, almost immediately, and not black and white, color. Now, if that man that snapped black and white in the 70s say, well, I don't want to embrace digital. That one I'm doing, that is what I will continue. Do you think it will be in business? And so you cannot completely knock out digital. They are very useful for us. It's for you to draw a line. How do you want to use this? You can use it to your advantage. It can also be used to your disadvantage. So you have to embrace the good aspect of it. In the Garden of Eden, we have fruit of good, the fruit that God said, you can eat this one. But this one of the knowledge and evil, do not touch it. That was the commandment. They both were there in the Garden of Eden. But if the Adam and Eve have chosen to stick to what God said, they will not have any problem. So, the same way, the digital age, it is true. If you want to be corrupt, you will get it there. Everything is obtainable. If you want to take advantage of it and excel in life, you can also do that. So, the digital age, I don't want to believe that is the reason why we have poor parenting. You can control whatever you have in your house depending on your own personal goal of what you want to achieve in your family. So I will say the digital age is not the reason or must not be the reason why we should fail as a parent.
Yes, you have to set boundaries.
Yes.
Okay, so we can also say that people marry wrongly these days. There's people marry wrongly, and that's why we have a high rise in divorce and broken homes. But when it comes to child upbringing, do we say that these broken homes are the kind of homes that are prone to the neglect or poor parenting, or it doesn't matter the background the person is coming from? Can you help us explain that? Because broken homes, some people give the excuse of I'm coming from a broken home, that is why I have no value, no norms to defend, no family standard. But do we liken that because of the poor marriage that we experience today and the multiples of broken homes that we have in our society?
Yes. When you have a broken home, usually children are the receiving end, because the family circle is designed in such a way that the father have a role to play, the mother have a role to play. for parenting the children is the perfect will of God, and that is what it ought to be. But in a case where you have a broken home, the mother is out there, the father is separated, definitely it will affect the children. And in most cases, you may accept God's intervention. You cannot have good children coming up from such family. Like you said, wrong marriages, that is wrong choice, not following the original manuscript, or what I would call the God's blueprint about raising a family of the major causes of broken home. You know, it's just like when you want to buy electronic, there's always a manual given to you to tell you how to use the devices that you have just put it. And if you don't follow that manual, you can easily damage your devices. You understand? Yes. You can easily damage your device. So, as a result of that, God has given us a manuscript, a manual of how a home should be. To be good marriage, husband and wife, and that is, Bible says, if the foundation be destroyed, there's nothing the righteous can do. So, a good family, a good child upbringing starts from a good family. Husband and wife, raising up godly children, we must follow God's own way. But when you go today, the way people get married, they neglect God's manuscript of about how we ought to get married, and as a result of that, the home is broken and the children become the victim of it. So that is one of the major problems we have today. You can have it's difficult seeing a child, a product of a broken marriage, to be what except with God's intervention.
So one of the pivotal key to stop this cycle is getting it right during marriage.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. So when we talk about the effects now, because we're going into the effects of this kind of practice of co-parenting, what are the short-term and the long-term effects of co-parenting children? Do you have an effect in their lives?
In the life of the children?
Yes.
Yes. One of the effects is you have a child low esteem, low life.
Self-esteem.
Yes, you get a child who will not have the confidence to express himself among his equal.
Let me give an example. Maybe a broken home now. A child maybe stands up to speak in his bed and they'll say, "You bastard," because he doesn't, his father cannot believe
That is exactly.
you bastard. And it can affect the person emotionally.
Exactly. That is what we're talking about. It can affect. That's one of the effects. The boldness and the courage to express himself among his people is not there because that stigma is there. It can, like you said, it can be tagged, where's your father? Or your mother has left your father and your parents are not together. So all those things are either the effect of not grown with parents that are together.
That's the effects of one of the effects of having poor parenting.
Yes.
Okay. So how does poor parenting contribute to issues like the rise in crime, mental health challenges, and poor academic performance?
Well, it must happen because when one of the parents is not there, The other one, for instance, if a woman is not there for the children, it will either make the father to get another wife that may not have that motherly affection to those children. And some of them, when they go out, when the father goes out, the new wife become hostile to the children. The father comes and we try to pretend. And so because of that, that growing up in such environment can affect the child in a negative.
That is one of it can also cause the rise in crime
Yes.
in our society.
Yes.
Like all these children we see in the streets now, some of them are into addictions, drug addictions, practices that are not advisable. But these are some of the foundations.
Those are the foundation that when you see, in fact, I sometimes ago, I saw a child of about 8 years old smoking.
Wow.
Smoking. And you begin to ask yourself, what is the problem? How did this child find himself in a situation like this?
Hmm.
And when he was caught, they tried to, create him. We're taking you to police. Started pleading, I'm sorry, I will not do it again. And those are the products of single parenting.
Hmm.
When the situation whereby the lady got pregnant outside marriage, and the child grew up without care of the father there, and the mother that gave birth to the child does not even know what it takes to raise up the child. So those are one of the effects. Today you get to the police station, you see young people that are there because there is no parental care, and as a result of that, rise to the increase of crime in the society.
Okay, so to a teenager listening to us now, can we liken the the state of a family, let's say this a family that is poor, is that an excuse to go haywire? Is that an excuse to go overboard and do whatever he wants?
It's not an excuse.
So what should be the best practice for somebody that finds himself in that kind of background?
Well, I want you to know that some of us, when we were growing up, our fathers were not good. In fact, somebody like me, for example, I'm sorry to tell you that, some people will say, "Oh, I have my inheritance from my father," and me that is here today, I didn't inherit the troop slippers from my father. You understand now? So the only thing that I got from my father was the moral upbringing that he gave to me.
That is key.
That is key. And that was enough for me to go. I left my parents at age of 16. At age of 16. And since that year till today, at age of 64 now, I've never been arrested or locked up by police for one day. Not even for one day. I've never had issue with law enforcement agents or whatever it is. I've never. Why? Because of the fear. In fact, to tell you, my parents were not even believers. As at the time I left them, they were not even believers. But the moral upbringing that they did into me, not only me, my sibling, my elder one, younger one, was the key factor that kept me going, even when I was alone. That was what kept me going. So being poor, coming from poor background, should not be the reason why we should uh, go outside there to commit crime or to do things that are contrary. I remember I read a book written by the Redeemed General Overseer. And he said when he was to graduate, I think in the secondary school, they were called, he was so brilliant that he would be called to collect gifts. The shoe he wore that day, he borrowed it because he has never had a shoe in his life. Both the trouser, the shoe, everything were oversized because he borrowed it from someone to go there to collect his gifts. And I also remember one time president of Nigeria said that when he was in school, he never had the opportunity to wear shoe. And see somebody growing up from that kind of background to become a president of Nigeria. Then somebody growing up like the Redeemed General was there, becoming a renowned man of God today, known worldwide, coming from the background. In fact, I remember he said his father was so poor that even the poor in the village called him poor.
Wow. Wow.
So that is the level of his father's poverty. Even the poor around him, they were calling him poor.
Wow.
And the day the father was able to buy umbrella, they celebrated.
Wow.
So and to now see that that kind of man come from that background to become who he is today.
He's determined.
So that is not that my parent is poor, I come from economic reasons, cannot be and should not be the reason why you should fail in life.
Wow. As we were speaking now, I just got to remember two people in the Bible. The person of Esther. Her parents were late,
Yeah.
and she was with her uncle. But because of the kind of moral upbringing that she had, she was even able to listen to him even while she was a queen. And we saw how God prospered. Even Ruth, she was hardworking, and at the same time, she listened to her mother-in-law. And that was why God saw and blessed. So there is a place of taking the morals and working with it, because that is what God will see to bless as youth, as teenagers are coming up. It's not even in the riches we inherit from our parents, because there are people that inherit these riches and they end up lavishing it without anything to show for it. So the key thing to say is the place of discipline and determination.
That is the great asset that a parent can give to his child. Because like you said, you can build mansion and leave it for the children. Yet they will sell it off and waste it, like the prodigal son did. But when you inculcate value, good moral into the life of your child, that one will take that child to anywhere you want to get in life. Because when you have that, you have little money, you can manage it.
Sure.
You will spend in the right way. But a child that is, that is not well brought up, a child that has no fear of God, whatever place him in anywhere, you will see that he will spoil that place. So the greatest thing anyone can do, give to the child in life, is good upbringing.
Okay, now so we are coming to the concluding part of this discussion. So I want to ask, in bringing up a child, the government can play a role, NGOs can play a role, even the religious bodies can play a role. That's like the church, a school, all these institutions. So what are those best programs that they can inculcate into their manual that can help a child grow up soundly and perfectly? Because we cannot rule out the fact that there are some parents that have these bad behaviors. There are some parents that are even into addictions, maybe drunkard, some are smokers, and these children see these things. But when they come outside, there is a very high tendency that if these notions are changed from the outside, they can pick it up from the outside and neglect that that's coming from the inside. So, what are those programs that churches, schools, even the government can initiate to help solve some of these problems?
Well, I will said uh, the church should take the front runner in this matter. Because when you say government, we know what is going on there. If even the youth today, they are rising up accusing government of corruption. You cannot give what you don't have. You understand? You cannot give what you don't have. You will only give. So I will now say the church has a greater role to play in this matter by organizing not just ordinary our normal worship
service.
and church service. You must be deliberate about it. You must create a seminar where we teach value, workshops. It's not just all about teaching them. There's a place of teaching people how to please God, how to live according to spirituality. But in order to become what we can be in the society, I think we need some seminar. How you can be the best that God wants you to be. So by so doing, there are some professionals in the church. We have had it in the past that some people I remember some years back we have youth program where we have a kind of professional that came, such as lawyer, accountant, and by the by the time the lawyer came and dressed, one of the boys came over and said, "I will become a lawyer."
That inspired him.
That inspired him, and he worked towards it and become. So to me, I would say, I think the church has a greater role to play. The present, I'm sorry to tell you that most of the, I think the greater percentage of people in today's government, well, I don't think they have anything to offer when it comes to it. They will only succeed in raising up more thugs.
Wow. Wow. So coming to the last part of the discussion, so what is your best advice that you have to parents that are struggling to correct their children, parents that are struggling to build this standard of parenting? What is your advice to them?
Well, there are parents, in fact, I, I know someone that today none of the children gives her joy. And I have the opportunity to discuss with her. I said, "Where did you get it wrong?" And he said, is the husband. That while he was trying hard to make sure the children are what they ought to be, that if they take a stand, they can easily run to the father, and the father will say, "You are too hard on them." And so I want to say is that there must be a kind of cooperation between husband and wife, that is father and mother. If you try to correct a child, and it could be the mother that is serious about it, if the father is not serious about it, they will have problem. If the father, on the other hand, is the one that is serious about bringing up value to the life of these children, and the mother is in the other end of the fence, being indifferent to what the man is doing, is also a problem. So both of them must agree together that this is what we want our children to be. And when they agree together, the child discovers that mommy and daddy are on the same page on this matter. They will have nowhere to run to. And at the end of the day, you achieve your goal. So for the parents that are struggling, well, to some people, they can only depend on God now because they have crossed the age where they can bend the fish. If they try to bend now, it will only break. In such a case, what they need to do is to go to God and, first of all, realize where they have missed it themselves. If they have not lived by example, because there is no how you can give what you do not have. If you said, I want to train my child, in fact, one of the best way to train a child or bring up a child in the way of the Lord is living by example. What you say don't do, the child must not see you doing it. You should be able to tell the child that, looking at me, have you ever seen me doing this? So you must, the power of example must be there. So to those that have already missed it, they can only depend on God. First of all, go back to God and find out where you have missed it and repent of it, then, and ask God to help you to get the children restored back.
Okay, then also on the side of the children, there are children that may have been affected, and maybe they have gone the opposite, the negative way due to poor parenting. And they have realized that they have missed a part of their life. What is your advice to those kind of children that have the desire to come back and make it right as a father? Now, what is your advice to such children?
Well, they must realize that, like in the Bible, the prodigal son who went astray, he realized he has missed it, and he came back to the father and said, well, he didn't die in a strange land, in the far country. When he get to the point where all that he left home got finished, and he suddenly realized that when he was eating the same food with pig, he said, no, even my father's hired servants are better than this. So I will go back to my father, not even as a son now, but he should take me as one of his hired servants. I'm ready for that. I've lost my position as a son, but now I am ready to be his father. And got back home. What happened? Father receiving. So the advice to those that have gone astray is that they can always come back. They can always restore. Trace where they have missed it, and look at the lost opportunity and come back. And they come back to God, come back to home, you will always be welcome. And they can start on it in spirit.
Thank you very much, sir. Our viewers, our listeners, you have heard it from. You have listened to our father there. He has outlined the effects of poor parenting and what the neglect of child upbringing can cause in our society. Are you out there as a child and you might think your own case is critical, it's too bad that you cannot come back? There is hope for you. Only if you can recognize where you have missed it and trace your step back, you can have a new life because it's not yet over, provided you still have breath in you. And to the parents that are having this challenge, first thing, as he said, find your way back to God and retrace your steps. You can still get back the minds of those your children that might have gone astray. So we have listened, we have had it all today. We have had it all. The decision is in our hands to choose on which path we are, whether on the positive side or on the negative side, in as much as to correct the errors that are facing our families today. Remember, the family is the smallest unit of a society, but still, it's that smallest unit that controls the activity of the society as a whole. So when we get it right in in the family, we can get it right in the society. So with this, I want to tell you, as a child out there, as an a very conversant adage that says your background should not define who you are in life, whether from a rich background or poor background. Pick up those disciplines, pick up those corrections, and mold your life into something that you can stand out to say, this is who I am. Thank you very much, and God bless you.